1997, in the Middle East, mercenaries attacked an enemy base. They secured the base and were questioning one of them. Too bad for them, the T pulled a pin off a grenade and one of them made the ultimate sacrifice to save his teammates. Harry is disappointed in himself for missing the grenade. They welcome James into the Kingsman because his training is over. Harry informs Michelle that Lee has died on a mission and gives her a Medal of Valor. Michelle doesn't want the medal because she is grieving for Lee, so Harry gives the medal to Eggsy. 17 years later in Argentina, Professor Arnold was kidnapped by a group of men because their boss wanted to talk to him. They get a knock on the door and the kidnappers prepare to end the guy. James takes care of the kidnappers to rescue Arnold and takes out the last kidnapper who was getting the whiskey. Someone else knocks on the door and before James opens it, he is cut in half by a woman named Gazelle, with blades for her leg. Gazelle cleans up the place so Valentine can come in to talk with Arnold because he can't stand the sight of blood. The Kingsmen gather together to toast to James who recently passed and plan to find a replacement for James's Lancelot spot. Once the meeting was done, Merlin briefs Harry and Arthur on what James was investigating. Merlin finds it strange that Arnold is back at Imperial College after getting kidnapped. Eggsy is forced to go out to run some errands because Dean wants to make love to Michelle. He goes to the pub to chill with his friends, but some underlings of Dean hear them talking smack, so they kick them out. Eggsy nicked Rottweiler's keys and the boys went on a joy ride in his car. They are getting chased by the police while Eggsy easily drives backwards. Eggsy crashes the car because he didn't want to run over a cat. He tells his boys to get away and hits the police. Eggsy is being interrogated but he asks for his phone call. He called the number on the medal and shortly after he was free to go. Harry waits for Eggsy to bring him to a pub so Harry can scold him for his wasted talents while turning to crime. Eggsy has excuses for his terrible choices until Rottweiler shows up with the gang. Harry wants to finish his drink but Rottweiler kicks him out. Too bad one of them had to talk smack and that pissed off Harry to lock up the place so he can give them a good beating. Harry knocks out Rottweiler by tossing a beer glass at his head. He beats the gangsters to a pulp and stuns Rottweiler after he runs out of ammo. The owner tried to call the police and Harry shot him with amnesia. Harry finishes his drink and plans to shoot Eggsy with amnesia before going, but Eggsy swears to keep his mouth shut. Dean starts beating Eggsy when he arrives home because he wants information on Harry, but Eggsy isn't giving him up. Harry hears all of it and threatens to expose Dean's criminal activities if he doesn't let Eggsy go. When Eggsy leaves, he starts performing parkour to escape the gang's pursuit. Eggsy goes to the Kingsman to meet with Harry, who offers Eggsy the opportunity to join the Kingsman to become an agent. Eggsy accepts the opportunity and Harry brings him to the Kingsman training base. Merlin explains the risk of this job interview to become the next Lancelot. He shows them a body bag because if they expose the Kingsman, their next of kin and themselves will be in that bag. Merlin dismisses them and Roxy introduces herself to Eggsy. Charlie, Digby, and Rufus introduce themselves while criticizing his low status. When everyone was asleep, the water started to rise in the middle of the night. Charlie tells everyone to go to the showerhead so they can breathe through it while Eggsy tries to look for another way. Eggsy gave up trying the door and started punching the mirror to break out. Merlin is glad some of them used their brains to survive, but he's disappointed because they threw teamwork out the door, which caused a death. Valentine wants to discover James's identity because there isn't a public record of him. He wanted to save the planet with money but found out very soon that money doesn't work and spent the last 2 years trying to find a solution. The president is down to listen to his terms and conditions. The next day Merlin lets them choose a pup because by the time the pup is well trained, they should be done around the same time. Eggsy thought his pup was a bulldog but it was a pug. Harry visits Arnold to ask about the kidnapping because James died trying to save him. Arnold's head explodes and Harry sets up an explosive before escaping. Valentine is pissed he had to end Arnold, but they don't have any idea what organization Harry is from, so he plans to fast-track the operation and doesn't care about the cost. Harry is recovering from the explosion but they can't get any information on what happened because he had his data encrypted. During training his pug is slowing him down and he wants to shoot it, but decides to carry it. Charlie's group pulls a prank on Eggsy and Eggsy wants all the smoke, but Roxy can calm the situation down. They are tested indoors and outdoors while Eggsy nails the balloon when they are in sniper training. Valentine is talking to Prime Minister Morton and Princess Tilda, but Tilda is against this plan. They detain Tilda because she's a flight risk to their plan and her bodyguards are easily disposed of by Gazelle. Morton gets the implant and that ends their business. Harry wakes up and Eggsy visits him. Merlin came to replay the recording of that day and he tracked the device to Valentine. Eggsy is amazed by Valentine's work because Valentine is giving away free SIM cards so they don't have to pay for phone and internet service anymore. Harry notices Valentine's assistant has the same implants as Arnold and plans to pay Valentine a visit at his party. The next test is skydiving, but if Merlin detects them, they are out. Roxy isn't sure she can do it, so Charlie takes the lead, but with Eggsy's reassurance, she follows behind. They are all enjoying the dive, but Merlin told them one of them doesn't have a parachute and that they will need to figure it out. Eggsy has a plan where they pair up with someone, but Rufus just had to chicken out. The next plan was to gather up and one at a time pull their chute. The last two will hold each other so no one dies. They start pulling their chute and it just leaves Eggsy and Roxy last. They hug each other to pull the chute, and luckily they made it in time to land somewhat safely. Rufus, Hugo, and Digby were sent home because they either failed to land in the circle or pulled too early. Eggsy is pissed he didn't have a parachute, but he finds out everyone had a parachute. Harry goes to Valentine's party, but Valentine cancels it because of Harry's donation and holds a dinner just for themselves. They talk about Professor Arnold's climate problems and the classic James Bond films while enjoying some McDonald's. Once the evening is over, Harry leaves while making some puns about McDonald's. Valentine doesn't need Gazelle to follow Harry because he placed a tracker in his wine. Harry reports back to Arthur about his findings and plans to visit a church in Kentucky. Also, the ever-growing number of missing persons keeps increasing, and the latest is Princess Tilda. A bunch of people are lining up to get the SIM card for free service, while Valentine tries to convince the detainees to buy into his cause. Merlin gives them their next mission by using NLP training to win over their target. They all try to win the target over, but they keep exposing each other's tactics. The target had to excuse herself because of a phone call, and someone else put them all to sleep. When Eggsy wakes up, he's tied down to the tracks and a train is coming. The man wants to know about the Kingsman, but Eggsy's lips were sealed. When Eggsy found out he passed the test, they go and watch Charlie if he passed or not. Too bad for Charlie because he started blabbing just to stay alive, and that disappoints Arthur. Merlin congratulates the last two candidates, and as tradition, they have 24 hours to spend with their scouter. Harry shows Eggsy his accomplishments, but it's a thankless job because their achievements will remain a secret. Valentine hates the biometric security system because of the pain he has to go through, but he's happy only he can operate it. They go to Kingsman's tailor shop to make a suit for Eggsy for memento if he doesn't get the job. Harry brings Eggsy to fitting room 3 to pop his cherries by showing him the weapons room. Eggsy is amazed by the undercover weapons, and when they leave the fitting room, they bump into Valentine. After a brief chat, Valentine leaves to buy a top hat Harry recommended, so Harry can monitor Valentine. Arthur calls Eggsy in to give him his last test and gives him a gun to shoot the dog. Eggsy aims at JB, but he can't shoot it and fails. On the other side, Merlin gives Roxy the same test and she passes the test. Arthur welcomes Roxy into the Kingsman as the new Lancelot position. Eggsy goes home and is glad to see the family. He notices her black eye and looks for Dean so he can beat him. Suddenly the car started driving off while Eggsy gave up trying to get out. Harry is annoyed at Eggsy for not taking the shot and stealing the car. He reveals the shot was blank because the Kingsman only condoned risking a life to save another. Merlin updates Harry about Valentine's test at the church tomorrow, and if that goes to plan then they are good to go. Harry goes to the church right away and will deal with Eggsy later. The pastor is preaching while Harry looks around for Valentine, but when he doesn't see him he leaves. Valentine starts the test because Harry is leaving and everyone starts fighting each other. Harry goes on a killing spree while Merlin wonders what he's doing. Once everyone is dead, Harry goes out and is greeted by Valentine. Harry wants to know why he went on a rampage and finds the SIM card is transmitting a radio wave making people act on their aggressions. Valentine shoots Harry right in the head and plans to start the operation tomorrow. Everyone is shocked by what they saw and is saddened by losing another member. Arthur calls for a gathering of the members. Eggsy wants to avenge Harry and meets with Arthur to talk about getting Valentine. Arthur will give Valentine's confession to the authorities, but Eggsy notices an implant on Arthur when toasting to Harry. They toast to Harry and Arthur shows Eggsy the poison pen because if Eggsy doesn't align with them, he's got to go. Arthur bought into Valentine's plan for the survival of the human race and invited Eggsy to join them. Eggsy declined, so Arthur used the poison pen, but it affected Arthur because Eggsy did a switcheroo when he made him look away. Eggsy takes out the implant from Arthur and gets the location to the safe zone. Eggsy gives the info to Merlin and they plan to take out Valentine because they don't know who's on his side. They plan to take out one of Valentine's satellites to stop the signal to buy some time for them to get into the mainframe to shut it down. The implants can counter signal waves, but it also has a failsafe if people blab about the plan. Roxy is tasked to take out the satellite while they go to the safe zone. Eggsy is tasked to be Arthur because he has his invitation and he suits up. Valentine gives a speech because everyone there is gloomy and everyone starts cheering up after the speech. They land in the safe zone and Eggsy goes through a security check before getting escorted to the waiting area. Roxy locks onto the satellite, but one of the balloons pops, making it harder for her to lock onto the satellite. She shoots a missile at the satellite and starts dropping because the other balloon popped. Roxy is having a hard time controlling her descent, but she can open up the parachute in time to land safely. Eggsy puts Morton to sleep to use his computer, but Charlie shows up to stop him and announces Eggsy's identity to everyone. Valentine sounds the alarm and speeds up the timeline. Eggsy knocks out Charlie and runs away while avoiding his pursuers with Merlin's help. Eggsy knocks out one of them to take their weapon to fight back while going back to Merlin. Merlin ends the guards when they notice Eggsy running out of ammo. When they were about to start the system failed because the satellite was blown up. Valentine calls E-Men to take over their satellite to start the operation. Eggsy wants to get out of there, but they can't because Valentine has a biometric security on it. Eggsy picks up a weapon and goes back in to stop Valentine. Merlin notices the new satellite and informs Eggsy that a bunch of guards are after him. He runs into the guards and starts taking them out with the umbrella gun. The sniper was able to penetrate the umbrella, so he tossed a grenade at them. The guards surround Eggsy while Merlin is about to get blown up by an anti-aircraft missile. Eggsy wants Merlin to use the implant, and Merlin activates the security implants to blow everyone's head up to create a fireworks show. Eggsy was about to free Tilda for some lovemaking session, but Valentine wasn't dead yet, so the operation continued. Roxy tells Michelle to lock her away from the baby because there's going to be a free-for-all battle. Tilda incentivizes Eggsy to save the world, and he takes a gun to shoot at Valentine. Gazelle pushes Valentine off the signal and she goes after Eggsy. They start fighting each other while Valentine turns it back on. Eggsy is overwhelmed by Gazelle's bladed legs. Gazelle is pissed off enough that Eggsy can use his secret poison blade shoes to land a cut. She dies from the poison, and Eggsy uses her leg blade as a javelin to end Valentine. That ended the signal, which saved the world from extinction. Eggsy takes wine glasses and champagne and rushes to Tilda so he can enjoy some promised lovemaking. Merlin stops monitoring them, and that ends their mission. Later on, Eggsy meets with Dean at the pub to take Michelle away, but Dean still has beef with Eggsy. He closes up the pub to reenact Harry's amazing battle. Well, that's it for Kingsman: The Secret Service. If you got up to this far, here is the next part or other recaps. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe, and thanks for watching.